Siap. Kita duluan. Kita duluan.
Cek.
Udah siap.
Fish. 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 Fish.
Cek cek cek
Apa sinyal ya?
cek 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 cek. Ini tes 1 2 3. Eh, Cek.
Seremoni.
Cek 1 2 3.
Kering ya. Panjang.
Cek.
Oi.
Cek.
Oi.
Cek. Tes. Tes.
Sebelah Pak Ibu sih.
Cek 1 2 3. Gede banget. Oke. Halo, 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 halo,
Pak Ibu sih.
halo, 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 halo. Ya, ini mic-nya kayak gini. Nah,
Apa?
Malam. 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 UNILA. Ini berapa orang? Ini komunikasi di kelas. Miss gue. Ini di record kok. Namanya tetap rek A ya? Atau kayak mana? Gue sih tetap pakai namanya, tetap pakai nama kelas juga.
pernah loh, kira-kira nggak tahu nih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabikun. The Honorable Dean FISIP University of Lampung that in this occasion is represented by Dr. Dedi Hermawan SOS MSI as Deputy Dean for Academic Affairs and Cooperations of FISIP UNILA. Vice Rector for Student Affairs and Alumni of University of Lampung, Dr. Ana Gustina Zainal SOS MSI. The Honorable Deputy Dean for the Honorable Professor Benjamina Flor from the University of Los Banos, Philippines. The Honorable Professor Alexander Flor from the University of the Philippines. The Honorable Dr. Insinyur Djuara Lubis MS from IPB University. The Honorable Head of the Department of Communication Science, Mrs. Wulan Suciska SICOM MSI, and all of our distinguished guests that come offline and are connected through online streaming. First of all, let us praise of God for His of His blessings. Because of Him, today we can come together with immense pleasure to shed lights in FISIP UNILA on a topic of utmost global importance, climate change adaptations and communications, research and opportunities. My name is Hashika Nabila, and I am honored to be your Master of Ceremony for this enlightening event. Ladies and gentlemen, all of the distinguished guests, let me welcome you all to this International Stadium Generale. As the information, this event is also streamed through UNILA TV and Communication Studies YouTube channel. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all the distinguished guests, now let's start this event by saying Basmalah. Moving on to our next agenda, it is singing our national anthem and hymn University of Lampung. For all of audience, please kindly stand up. Parah lu. Nah, gini gimana? Udah mati belum? University of Lampung.
Kemana? Jalan. Masa ambil? Ngapain ambil kembali kita?
Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our agenda, let's pray to the Almighty God. Hopefully, all of our agenda will run successfully. Allow me to lead the prayer in an Islamic way to our of non-Muslim audience. Please, all it with your own religion and belief. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Hamdan syakirin. Hamdan ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan, segala puji serta syukur tercurah kehadirat-Mu atas segala rahmat dan karunia yang telah Engkau limpahkan kepada kami, sehingga pada saat ini Engkau pertemuan kami kembali ke dalam acara International Stadium General. Untuk itu, ya Allah, ya Karim, jadikanlah acara ini sebagai acara yang Engkau ridhoi, yang membawa barokah, rahmat, taufik, dan hidayah-Mu bagi kami semuanya. Jadikanlah kegiatan ini sebagai momentum untuk menyelesaikan langkah bersama dengan kohesivitas dan adhesivitas gerak yang seirama demi menggapai cita-cita yang mulia, mewujudkan kecerdasan kehidupan bangsa. Mudahkanlah kami dalam setiap koordinasi, fokuskanlah pikiran kami dalam menganalisis untuk menghasilkan spesifikasi indikator kerja yang terukur dan pada hasil semua itu berorientasi. Sehingga setiap rumusan kegiatan, produk, dan aksi sesuai dengan sasaran dan tujuan yang telah diinisiasi. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan yang Maha Pengampun, Engkau yang Maha mengetahui terhadap kelemahan-kelemahan kami, terhadap kekurangan-kekurangan kami. Kepadamulah kami menyembah, kepadamulah kami memohon ampunan. Kabulkanlah doa dan permohonan kami. Oh, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now, we will continue to the next agenda. We would kindly invite Dr. Demawan Esos MSc as Deputy Dean for Academic Affairs and Cooperation of FISIP UNILA to give opening remarks as well as to open today's event.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kami pun Profesor Benjamina, Dr. Djuara and Professor Alexander Jufo. Tapi pun is something local wisdom from the origin of Lampung province. Memperkenalkan arti dari tapi pun Profesor. Tapi pun the Honorable Dr. Benjamina, Flor, Dr. Djuara, Lubis, and Professor Alexander Flor. Welcome to the University of Lampung, especially Social and Politics Faculty. Good afternoon, respect to college, village student, and distinguished guests. Jadi ini dua versi ya, satu versi Inggris, satu versi Indonesia. Jadi ada dua teksnya. Jadi kita mengucapkan selamat datang pada tamu kita semua. Anda semua beruntung pada siang hari ini akan ada kuliah umum GENERALE dengan kedua profesor dan juga ada Pak Dr. Djuara. Nah, pada kesempatan ini, unfortunately, we are sorry if Ain is still not here. Her is have a duty. Our dean cannot join today. Academic around the world are currently debating environmental issue a lot. Today, human activities have a significant influence on the problem of environmental change. Geologists refer to this period as the Anthropocene, when human activity start to affect Earth ecosystem globally. We believe that factor like pollution in the world, main city in the world, environment affect human life. Seperti yang kita tahu, Jakarta saat ini sedang sibuk menggerakkan seluruh ASN untuk WFH. Kenapa? Dalam rangka untuk mengatasi persoalan polusi udara. How the media's role in environment concern needs to be viewed as one of the solution problem with the environment. Jadi, beradaan salah satu komunikasi, peran komunikasi menjadi sangat strategis untuk bisa menjadi media yang mengkampanyekan tentang bagaimana mengatasi problem lingkungan, problem polusi kepada berbagai stakeholder termasuk masyarakat. As we come together today to officially launch the international seminar on environmental change and media adaptation, research and emerging opportunities. It is with great honor and privilege that I extend my warm greeting to you all. Professor Flor and Professor Flor's present her edge and remarkable touch of distinction to this occasion and highlights the breadth of knowledge and expertise that each of you bring to the discussion. Jadi 3 narasumber ini, para mahasiswa sekalian, akan menyampaikan wawasan, pengetahuan, pengalaman mereka kepada kita semua, terutama terkait dengan peran penting komunikasi di dalam perubahan iklim, lingkungan, ya, kepada seluruh masyarakat, termasuk demi kepentingan masa depan bumi, masa depan masyarakat di kemudian hari. Let us draw inspiration from the collective wisdom in this room as we embark on this intellectual adventure. Let us use Professor Flor's, Dr. Lubis, and Dr. Flor's insight to spark new idea, build transformation method, and cultivate meaningful connection. I send my heartfelt welcome to all of you with thanks. This seminar reflects our shared commitment confronting today's issue and seizing the opportunities they bring. We have the capacity to influencing inspirational action and pave the way for a more sustainable and resilient future if we work together. Persoalan masa depan, persoalan ancaman hari ini, dan masa depan bisa kita selesaikan, bisa kita atasi kalau seluruh komponen masyarakat, seluruh elemen masyarakat bisa berkolaborasi untuk mengatasi persoalan, terutama persoalan lingkungan yang kita hadapi hari-hari. Thank you. Thank you for attending the international seminar on environmental change and media adaptation, research and emerging opportunities. Thank you for being and sharing your knowledge with us. Let me close by saying that it frees and destroy people will perish. Demikian sambutan dari kami. Kami thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Dedi, for the speech. And for Mr. Dedi, I would like you to please come forward to give the mementos to the speakers. And then I invite Professor Benjamina, Professor Alexander, and Dr. Djuara to come onto the stage also to receive the mementos from FISIP UNILA. I also invite Mrs. Anas, the Vice Rector, and then Mrs. Wulan, as the Head Department of Communication, to come onto the stage also. Okay. For the documentation team, please come to stage and take photos of this moment. Yes. For Mr. Dedi, please kindly give the mementos to Professor Benjamina. For Mr. Dedi, please kindly give the mementos to Professor Benjamina. And now the mementos is given by Mr. Dedi and received by Professor Ben. Then for Mrs. Anna, please kindly give the mementos to Professor Alexander. And now the mementos is given by Mrs. Anna and received by Professor Alexander. Next, for Mrs. Wulan, please kindly give the mementos to Mr. Djuara. Now is given by Mrs. Wulan and received by Mr. Djuara. Well, after this, we would like all the speakers and the faculty leaders to just stay on stage and take a photos together. First, for the faculty leaders. Okay. And then please stay on the stage because we would like to have a documentation with the on-duty lecturers. With on-duty lecturers, dosen. Okay. The audience may stand up. All right. The speakers please may be seated again. Now we're moving to our main agenda, that is presentations of our topic, which is climate change adaptations and communication, research and opportunities. For this session, it will be delivered by Professor Alexander Flor from the University of the Philippines, Professor Benjamina Flor from University of Los Banos College, and Dr. Djuara Lubis MS from University, and that will be moderated by Mr. Ahmad Riza Faisal, SOS IMDLL. Mr. Ahmad Riza Faisal, SOS IMDLL, is a lecturer at the Department of Communication Studies Program at Lampung University. He has a profound interest in becoming a lifelong learner and a naturally liking towards readings and discussions. His expertise lies in the areas of communication technology, tourism community, media studies. Currently, Mr. Riza appointed as secretary at SDG Center in University of Lampung. To moderator, Mr. Ahmad Riza Faisal, SOS IMDLL, the floor is yours.
Selamat siang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Buat rekan-rekan yang belum kenal saya, ini angkatan 2023 ya. Ya, saya Pak Riza. Jadi kita pada siang hari ini materi akan diberikan dalam bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Jadi dua presenter kita akan bicara dalam Inggris, lalu Pak Djuara akan bicara dalam bahasa Indonesia. Try to keep up. And I aware that this is also on this, right? First of all, has been introduced by the Master of Ceremony. We have a main topic about climate change, adaptations, and communication. As a brief, climate change is sometimes misunderstood as being about changes in weather. Unfortunately, in reality, it's more about the changes in our very way of life. And that's not what from me. That's Paul Polman said. He was the author of Net Positive and former CEO of UNILA. Climate change is a natural phenomenon that we must face and anticipate wisely. Therefore, in this our department invite three experts, and all of them have a very distinguished experience in the climate change field, and they are DH people, I would say, if we want to discuss about climate change in this planet. To us, I will open the discussion session after the presentation. The first session will have three presentations. Each speakers will have 15 to 20 minutes, and followed by second session. Professor Flor, Dr. Flor, and Dr. Djuara inform you participants of the seminar today. There's about 150 of them, as well as join us in this room lectures in the Department of Communication and faculty members. And also about 200 participants already joining us through Zoom and YouTube channel. And this event also broadcast University Television Channel, UNILA TV. Okay, without further ado, we give Professor Flor for the first presentation. Have you please share this presentation? Okay, Professor Flor, the floor is yours.
Selamat siang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun, yeah, Pa Riza taught me that this morning, just this morning. In the Philippines, we also say tabi po, or meaning excuse me. Permisi. Okay. Now, thank you very much, Pa Riza. Our national hero is named Dr. Jose Riza, similar to Pa Riza's name. Deputy Dean Dedi, Ibu Ulan, and Ibu Ana, the Vice Rector, Djuara, and my better half, Professor Dr. Benjamina. I would like to talk about climate change communication, the state of play, meaning what exactly is happening right now insofar as climate change communication is. You would see that my title is Professor Emeritus and University Scientist, meaning I have already retired from the University of the Philippines. I hold the title University Scientist until the end of December of this year. Okay, now I would like to ask you a few questions from you before beginning. And that most of you are undergraduate students. Could you please raise your hands, all the undergraduate students, please? Don't be shy. Could you please raise your hands just to identify yourself? Hi, please. Undergraduate students, please raise your hands. Undergraduate students. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Don't be shy. Raise your hands, please. Okay. Okay, thank you, Jacob. Graduate students, do we have graduate students in the room? Masters? Online, most of them are online. And the faculty members, the lecturers, could you hands? Lecturer, faculty. Okay, terima kasih, Bu Pak. I was just testing if I will be understood. Problem is this presentation is in English, and I know that you learned your English via YouTube or TikTok, right? And it may be different from the way I was taught English. Okay, so I come from the Faculty of Information and Communication Studies of the University of the Philippines. It is a college that information science, computer science, and communication arts under one roof, under one academic roof. I have only encountered one institution that offers information science, computer science and communication science, also under one faculty. Usually these are taught in different colleges or faculty. Computer science may be taught in, let's say, the College of Engineering. Information science may be taught by the School of Library Sciences. And in your particular case, communication science is taught by the Faculty of Communication. But we are teaching all of this under one faculty only. And here in Indonesia, I think Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veterans offers computer science and communication science under one faculty. They're part of this program. Now you may ask why. Isn't computer science or information science and communication science, are they not fundamentally different? Now my answer to you, the short answer is that they come from the same roots. They originated in 1949 in a seminal paper that some of you may have read. It's called The Mathematical Theory of Communication, written by Claude Shannon. And this is the inspiration for our offering it under one academic roof. Now, I'm going to talk about climate change from the perspective of both information and communication. Okay, first, I'll talk about climate change and information. Okay, now what do we see here? It says there, instance biology. What do we see here? This is the thing that has impacted our lives in the past, 4 years? Beginning 2020, March 2020, until recently. This caused so much economic pain, so much loss, and it has impacted our lives. We had to be locked, we had to undergo lockdowns and so on. This is a virus, right? What is a virus? Is it a living thing? Could anybody tell me if this is living or non-living? Living is still to be, the debate is still ongoing, whether it is living or non-living, because it exhibits both characteristics of living and non-living things. Now, what is a virus made of? It is just made of information coded in an RNA cell. It is information coded in an RNA cell, and it is covered by a protein coat and also a coat of fat or lipids. That is what a virus is. It's information, okay, but it's encoded in the RNA. You see how important, you see how significant information is, and we take it for granted, right? Yeah, we take for granted what information is in our lives, but actually determines our lives. Your smartphones and your social media accounts and all the information, misinformation, disinformation that we get from our environment. It is determining the way we live, the way we feel, and now the way we act. It is now determining how we learn English, for instance. This is the cover of a bestseller that came out in 1976. I was a first-year graduate student then, 1976. This is the time your parents were born. Yeah. The New York Times bestseller, the title of which is The Selfish Gene, was authored by a zoologist. His name is Richard Dawkins. Yeah, that's him in 1976, and this is him now. No? And he was the one who introduced the term meme. So you're all familiar with what memes are, right? You make use of memes every day. You make memes, you share memes, you receive memes, and memes determine your days, okay? What is a meme? When Richard Dawkins introduced the term meme, it's not the same definition that we use it right now. No, there was no Facebook then. There was no TikTok then. Okay. What is a meme? Well, we have to go back to what we call basic units, you know, like the basic unit of information is a bit. Bit is short for binary digit, bit, right? And bits, they measure information, right? Okay, so we have gigabytes of information, we have megabytes of information, we have kilobytes of information, and then we have bytes. A byte is equivalent, or 8 bytes, or a byte is equivalent to 8 bits. 8 bits of information is equal to 1 byte. That's how we measure information. Now, how do we define a bit? A bit is a certainty. It's one negative uncertainty. That's the technical definition of a bit. If you are certain of something, if you become certain of something, then it's 1 bit of information. Okay? And that is what information is supposed to do. It makes you certain that, this person, is he a boy or a girl? You receive information, boy, oh, so okay, I'm certain that he's a boy. But maybe we don't know. He really is. No, that is just a joke. Okay, a phoneme is a basic unit of language. A keen is a basic unit of movement. A gene is a basic unit of life. And a meme is a basic unit of culture. Okay. Bit information, phoneme language, keen body language, gene heredity. The basic unit of culture is meme, meaning memes determine our cultures. Okay, it's an analogy to the gene. I will leave a copy of this presentation with you so that you could copy it, but we need not dwell on this. In 1976, yes. It replicates. A meme acts like a virus, right? You could get a meme and then you spread it. And this is the reason why the term viral is being used when it comes to social media. Viral information. Okay? It acts like a virus. Okay? It can propagate themselves from brain to brain. It transfers from brain to brain to book, book to brain, computer to computer. It spreads and it creates culture in that way. And as they propagate, they may change or mutate. This is again. Okay, I will just go through this very quickly, but I think that you get the idea. What I'm trying to arrive at is this concept of entropy. Entropy are analog signals, objects are all over our network, our digital network platforms. You know, entropy of analog signals accelerate at a faster rate. You've learned this in physics, okay? And it relates to the concept of the second law of thermodynamics, which we need not discuss right now. But the thing is, information, we're talking about information right now, is that which stops or decreases entropy. And what is entropy in our daily lives? Entropy is that which creates chaos. It's that which creates problems. It's that which creates situation. And it happens everywhere. No, it's everywhere. Okay? It is what entropy is what makes us old. No? Entropy is what causes problems. Now supposedly that which addresses or arrests entropy is information. Okay. Now, again, this may be a bit over our heads, but refer to it later. But I would like to quote a poem by William Butler Yeats. Oh, a stanza of a poem from the Second Coming, and it describes entropy. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Information or entropy is that which causes chaos within living systems. And information is that which reverses or arrests entropy. And this, I think, is very important among you in particular, communication students. Many of you are Gen Zs, right? I am what? I am, berapa umurnya? I am a baby boomer. Okay, I was born in 1953. The baby boomers, they were the ones who initiated the sustainability movement. The baby boomers, they were the ones who pioneered in information and communication technology. Remember Steve Jobs, remember Microsoft's, who? No, baby Zuckerman is already, and is no longer a baby boomer. But Steve Jobs, yeah. Yeah, Bill Gates. Yeah, of course. All of us are baby boomers, right? Now, Gen Zs might not be able to appreciate information, communication, and sustainability as much as we would want them to, because, well, it is something that you would really need to address in the future. Now, I'd like to talk about communication. Very basic. Communication is not only concerned with humans. Agree, disagree? Agree, okay. It's not, communication is not only concerned with humans. Communication transcends the social sciences. Agree, disagree? Is there communication in areas other than the social sciences? Is communication a concern of other areas? For instance, in biology, do we talk about communication? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. In physics, we talk about communication also, although we're not so familiar with what their definition of communication is. Communication is a pan-discipline that touches economics, systems theory, physics, biology, etc. Communication is a discipline that expands, that transcends other disciplines. And this will be proven in the near future. Now, do you believe in this statement? All living systems grow. All living systems evolve. You should. All living systems exchange information. Believe in this? Every living system, be it a unicellular organism to a very complex organism, such as Ibu Benji here, it exchanges information. All exchanges of information that support growth or evolution may be classified as development communication. Ibu Djuara, Pa Djuara, so sorry, yeah, graduated PhD in development communication in Los Banos. Ibu Benji is a professor of development communication. Development communication, in simplest terms, is our exchanges information that support growth or evolution. So development communication is any exchange of information that facilitates or leads to growth, evolution, and the ideal states of living systems. Now, you may ask about communication per se. This is my degree, communication. This is my faculty, communication. Does it, does it lead to growth, evolution, the ideal state of living systems? Definitely. But if the purpose of that communication is such, then we call it development communication. Okay. Maybe there's no need for me to dwell into this. Yeah, but I will show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 book covers that portray this role of communication. A manual on communication, public participation in the EIA. Do we know what the EIA is? Are you familiar with environmental impact assessment? Environmental impact assessment is the process of assessing or looking into the negative impact of any project. I understand that here in Indonesia, if for instance you would want to open up a coal-fired power plant, or let's say a mining undertaking, you need to get an EIA or an environmental impact assessment. You need to get an environmental compliance certificate from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Now, communication is needed here. Some of you, upon graduation from this university, may be engaged by a firm or a company to assist conducting EIA communication. That's part of environmental communication and climate change communication, because any commercial activity may eventually have an impact on climate change. One of the more important aspects of environmental communication is social acceptability. Is a project socially acceptable to a community? Okay? That is one of the questions that you need to answer. And these are models of communication that you may have studied in your courses. This is another book, Environmental Communication Considerations in Curriculum and Delivery Systems Development. And this is for, environmental communication teaching in environmental communication here. Yeah, then perhaps it's time that such a course be developed, which may include climate change communication. Is the book on environmental communication, which we wrote in 2004. It says that critical functions, all living systems need to exchange information with the environment and so on. And that is how we define environmental communication. There is a Bahasa translation of this book. It's titled Komunikasi Lingkungan. And the co-author there is Professor Dr. Hafid Changara from UNHAS. Lastly, this I think is what inspired the title of this seminar, Innovative Strategies and Frameworks in Climate Change Adaptation, which was co-authored by myself, Professor Dr. Benjamina here. 2018. Maybe we could just answer that. And there, nowadays, when we speak of climate action, there are only two kinds of climate action. Climate action is how do we address climate change? What do we do to address climate change? There are two types of climate action. One is climate change mitigation. When we say climate change mitigation, it means decelerating or slowing down or even reversing climate change by reducing carbon emissions. So I believe that Indonesia as a country has made a commitment to reduce its carbon emissions. And this is part of the global climate change movement. So one way to address climate change is to reduce carbon emissions, and that is called climate change mitigation. Another way to address climate change is called climate change adaptation. What do we mean by climate change adaptation? It means changing behaviors, reducing our dependencies, and increasing our agilities to reduce climate change impact on sectors, communities, and individuals. Now, what do we mean by this? We've seen how climate affecting us, how carbon emissions are now affecting us. Here in Lampung, we have a drought, right? This is one of the impacts of climate change. It's either drought and it's extreme floods, okay? Floods, drought, forest fires that we see in Hawaii, okay? Forest fires that are now happening in Spain, forest fires that are happening in the US, the extreme heat that is now killing people in North America as well as in Europe. And then at the same time, there are floods, Pakistan and even in South Asia. Okay? Now we have drought, a very dry spell here in Sumatra. Okay? What do? We adapt. How do we adapt? We use less water, right? Blumandi. Okay. We use less water. We, of course, divert water resources. We there are a lot of practices by communities and local and indigenous peoples where we see how they adapt to climate change. They actually use certain signals to know when there is going to be a storm, for instance. Okay, and I am quite familiar with a number of these because I did some work in Prigi in Central Java, and the fisher folk would say that if there is a ring around the moon, ibubulan, if there is a ring around ibubulan, tomorrow it's going to rain. Okay, and things like that. You know, these knowledge comes from indigenous peoples. It's their way of climate change adaptation. Now we are proposing a third category of action, and this is climate change communication. This is the third way or strategy by which we could address climate change. Mobilization of communities, mobilization of young people like you, making use of social media even, no? This is the cover of a book called Knowledge Sharing for Collective Climate Action. It was edited by myself and Professor Dr. Benjamina here. Now, climate change communication involves telling stories also. Okay. Stories are a very important means or medium to bring home the climate change message and knowledge sharing for collective climate action. And with that, I would like to move or to give the microphone over to Professor Dr. Benjamina. Yeah, Benjamina. Yeah, but thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Flor. Katanya kalau tak kenal maka tak sayang. Ya. Jadi saya bacakan dulu ya kurikulum vitae dari Mr. Flor ya, supaya kita tahu latar belakang beliau. Professor Dr. Alexander G. Flor is a university scientist and chair of Doctor Education Program at University of Philippines Open University. He currently holds one professorial chair in knowledge management, and he also served as the first chair of the Commission of Higher Education Technical Committee, and also the funding program manager of the CIMO CRK Knowledge Management Program. And he worked with the University of Philippines since 1976 until now, and he has a broad technical experience as technical advisor in 18 and also wrote a lot of publications. One is what we discussed today and what has been shown you, like Introduction to Development Communication, which been translated in Bahasa by Dr. Djuara. Environmental communication as has been shown before. I think that's it for Mr. Alexander. And now we will give the presentation to Professor Dr. Benjamina. Okay. Okay. So she showed the shorter version because the original version it's 12 pages long. Short. Dr. Benjamina Paula Gonzalez Flor is a professor at College of Development Communication. She earned her bachelor, master, and doctorate degrees in development communication. When it was still under the College of Agriculture, she had almost 40 years of work experience, and from a lot of countries, as such Pakistan, Lao People Democratic Republic, Thailand, Australia, China, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. Dr. Flor is a notable icon in communication research, communication and culture, environmental communication, social marketing communication, and development. She authored and co-authored countless publications in the field of rural communication, education, climate change adaptation, community broadcasting, and rural studies. As well as Professor Alexander, she also received multiple professional awards, including the one-up professorial chair for teaching and research. I for Dr. Benjamina excellent experience. Lastly, Dr. Insinyur Djuara P. Lubis MS. Beliau adalah dosen di IPB. Spent his undergraduates and degree at IPB, and then her doctorate been held in University of Philippines, right? Los Banos. And for working experience, has been the head of study program for community development, is that correct? A master program in IPB. And he also runs a program for communication development in the IPB, and the head of Green TV in IPB. So that's are the competency that our speaker has. So I hope you can enrich us our understanding about the topic that we will speak of. As the time will given about 15 to 20 minutes to Professor Benjamina, please.
Thank you, Pak Riza. Pak Dedi, Ibu Ana, Pak Ibu Ulan, Pak Djuara, Pak Riza, Mas, Mbak, Ibu, Bapak sekalian, siang. Tabik pun. Okay, so this afternoon I'll be talking about how we communicate climate change. No, that's why the paper is titled Climate Talk, Knowledge Sharing for Collective Climate Action. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, a pleasant nature afternoon to all. So first, I would like to thank UNILA for inviting us to share our thoughts about environmental communication, and you, very young communicators, on how can we, the Generation Z, be able to communicate sustainability. Remember that your generation will be responsible for the next generations. So if we don't take care of your generation now, maybe we will have no generation to see 50 or maybe 30 years from now. So I'd like with this slide. So you are prospective media practitioners, right? You are into communication, right? So some of you may be working with TVRI, maybe with CNN, maybe with other communication networks, communication channels, radio, print, or maybe on social media or new media. But how do we have, or how do we get the content that we are going to report? It is something that if we do not talk about it, it means it's not there. It does not exist. So if we don't talk about it, it is not happening. Thus, we must make climate change of our daily conversations. Part of our omong-omong, part of gossip, part of bisik-bisik, so that it becomes, that would go viral. Maybe you could use it on social media as well, where media practitioners could pick up. And maybe, of course, as media practitioners, you don't simply get these messages, but you very how do you send messages to your friends? Do you simply click the send button? Misinformation, disinformation, malinformation? So how do you send information through, let's say, through your mobile? Do you think twice? Or as soon as you get it on? Yeah? Benar? Ya? Kenapa pikir-pikir? Pas aja. Jadi cepat-cepat ya. Don't have to think twice. Anyway, this was just passed to me. So you could get away. Oh, ibu or bapa or amba or bas just gave it to me. So I just, shared it to others. I thought it was something that should be shared. But really not knowing whether this is true or not. And in the Philippines, we have what we call Marites syndrome. No. So what is Marites syndrome? No. Usually our Marites, our news bearer, it's actually women. Gossip comes from where? Who starts gossip usually? Wanita ya. Usually wanita, bisik-bisik. Usually wanita, ngomong-ngomong. I saw Pak Riza in the, So it's usually, it's not the men, no? It's the women. So we take advantage of that characteristic of women. Anyway, they will tell us that we are the gossiper. So we gossip something that is valuable, that is something relevant, that is something can learn from. No? And if we do it as part of our daily conversation, the everyday, the topic that we talk about, then maybe this could be more scientific, and then we are better judged by the way we adapted. We adapted to climate change because of this very nature of women being a vital source of information. So we do not say that women are just, they just deliver news because they want to hurt others, or they want to get away with any news about them that's not good. But going back to Marites, Marites is it's a Filipino name. No? Usually Maria Teresa, short for Maria Teresa. But sometimes, now we're using it because of this information. We're now using this to stand for Marites, Mare. What is the latest? Maybe you could have something for Indonesian counterpart, Marites. Mare is a short term for Komare. Komare is the godmother, of your son or daughter. Witness during baptism. I don't know if you do that, but in Catholic faith, we do that. So we call them Komare. Short for Mare. What's the latest? So it's Marites. For men, we call them Tolits. Tol, brother, Mas. Mas, what's the latest? So it's Tolits. Tol, what's the latest? So they also do gossip, not only women. No? That means we should make this gossiping a part of our daily conversation. So we talk about your observation. What's your observation about temperature rising, or the weather, or too much rain, or flooding? Or maybe you could ask, what was your kaka, or your nenek, or your ibu, or your bapa? No? What was the climate 50 years ago? Then you can talk about it. But how do we start? And Flor already shared this book, no? That we are proud to say that this book is titled Knowledge Sharing for Collective Action. Actually, it's an open educational book that you could download. No? You could download, and this is being used by our students under the massive open online course for knowledge management for development. And of course, knowledge management proponents, they maintain that knowledge is best shared through lessons learned. If you did not learn it, what will you share? So it has to be something that you have experienced. And this book contains that. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of good practices. Good practices, probably if there are indigenous knowledge or indigenous or biosignals, as what Dr. Flor was sharing earlier. Like when you see ants, if the ants line on the floor, what does it mean? If the ants, do you notice it? If the ants, they line up, go out of the ground, what does it mean? It will rain. Yes, it will rain. See? We did not even research on it, but we experience it. So that means we could talk about it. And if we could share this, then perhaps these stories will be able to provide collective action. The same book was written by us, and we believe that this is a good resource for academic researchers, students, even faculty members who would want to understand the human response. How do we respond to shifting conditions on the earth? So this is more for the social sciences. So it's for you. But how do we share our stories as conversation pieces? I would say through express. What is express? In Bahasa. Express. As an adjective, express can be, as an adjective, it means operating at high speed. No? Cepat-cepat. Making few intermediate stops and reaching its destination quickly. So it implies we converse about climate change, we have to do it fast to prepare for any unforeseen changes. It could also be a noun. It refers to an express train, a bullet train or public transportation. And as a verb, it means putting thought into words, utter, an utterance or a state to set forth opinions or feelings. I want to express my love for UNILA students. So this means that we have to convey our thoughts about climate change if we want to mainstream the topic. If we want everyone should know about climate change, everyone can adapt, everyone can communicate climate change, then we have to express it. But in this presentation, express is a mnemonic. Well, you know what's a mnemonic? Mnemonic. It's like an acronym. So we talk about how you express yourself, but it is composed of several concepts. So one of which is experience. So experience, as we always say, is the best. Experience is the best Teacher, yes. So experience is the best teacher. So when you experience climate change, like drought, maybe in your village, no, in your city or in your province, you could share it to others. And when you talk about it, you are an expert because you experience it. So you cannot share something that you have not experienced. Climate change being what we call in situ. That means your climate may be different from mine. We cannot have the same climate. Even maybe 15 kilometers away, it's not raining. Here it's raining, 15 kilometers away, no rain. Did you experience that? Because that is one of the indicators. No? We do not know to what extent, but it's one of the indicators. So it's location specific. And, natural disasters as lived experience could be your motivator, especially if you have experienced it. And Indonesia, like the Philippines, is very vulnerable. That's why the next letter is P, which means we have to prepare. So what do we need to prepare for? You have to prepare a topic that you would like to share. And when you prepare, you should be able to talk about the issues of climate change. And what climate change? Rising temperatures, flash floods, tsunamis. What else? Global warming. But these are issues to talk about if you are not prepared as well. If you are not, the next letter is research. So you cannot talk about it, research on the topic. So that means you are communicators. No, you do not have the technical grounding, but you could look for a scientist. A scientist now that will help you explain what climate is not the same as weather. No? Weather is the everyday temperature that you experience, but climate is more long-term. No? So you cannot depict climate in one day. Climate today is kind of rainy. Climate or weather? Weather. No? It's weather. So you have to differentiate. No? That means you have to do research if we want to make people understand what are the effects of climate change. Because this has a very high impact on sustainable agriculture. And that is the very root of why we want to ensure food security. So Gen Z will not turn into chaos, not turn into entropy if you know how to address climate change. In the Philippines, we call it nganga. If you don't know what to do, what do we say? Like that. Nganga. Just open your, I do not know, what will I do? So, nganga. So I don't want you to see nganga if you are communicators. When you communicate, you have to say something. You don't, that's just nganga. So, to do your research very well. And you have to do it hari-hari. Every day you could, ay, bagaimana ka po di sana, di Lampung. Pak Djuara di Bogor. Pak Djuara, bagaimana di Bogor? Masih ada hujan? Hujan sekali o ada? Oh, ada hujan. Oh, masa kenapa tidak ada hujan di Bogor? Bogor may hujan. Kenapa begitu? Kenapa tidak ada durian? Kenapa tidak ada lansones? No? Because of the changing climate. Because of the changing climate. If there's too much rain, rambutan, jato. Lansones, jato. Rambutan, da mau flower. Yeah. bunga, because of the climate. No? That is climate, that is there, because it's long term. Okay, so you have to do research in doing your part daily. And how are you going to do this? You could do it through storytelling. So how do you tell stories? Not only basic, yeah. Not only gossip. Not only omong-omong. It has to be scientific omong-omong. Yeah. It has to have science. Because your neighbors will tell you that, oh, a student from UNILA told me that there will be rain today. But there's no rain. Masa, kenapa? Maybe you did not get your facts right. So you could do this by visiting parks, maybe going to caves or coastal areas to observe this. And you could bring students there. You could write about it. Because this could help you build your stories well. So your stories would have a structure. Storyline, your characters, your plots, your synopsis, your conflict, and your resolution. And of course, for your stories to be heard, you have to share. No? Be a marites with a purpose. Be a bisik-bisik with a purpose. No? Be a gossiper with a purpose. And because when you express means you are trying to mainstream your stories to understand the lived experience, those affected by climate change issues. And when you prepare a topic, you are doing it dutifully through research and talking about climate change through storytelling. And I'd like to end this presentation with this quotation. According to Leonardo DiCaprio, climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species, and we need to work collectively together and stop procrastinating. Tidak bisa, oh besok aja, sekarang aja. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Professor Benjamina, for a very encouraging presentation. We go next to Dr. Djuara. Silakan.
Makasih Pak. Selamat siang. Ngantuk kalian? Kalau kalian nggak ngantuk. Oke, pengakuan kedua orang ini dosen saya ketika saya sekolah. Jadi nggak mungkin lebih bagus yang saya katakan daripada yang mereka katakan. Saya tidak lagi bicara soal bagaimana itu climate change di, nggak tahu saya, should I talk in English or in bahasa teman. Oke, supaya apa? Kalau bahannya bahasa Inggris. Saya ingin cerita saja bagaimana yang dikatakan oleh Pak Flor dan Bu Benji sudah ada bagaimana itu terjadi di Indonesia. Dan tentu saja bagaimana itu terjadi di Indonesia itu berdasarkan penelitian mahasiswa-mahasiswa saya, penelitian saya. Mahasiswa saya yang S1, yang S2, yang S3, ketika mereka meneliti climate change, apa yang terjadi di lapangan? Kira-kira begitu yang ingin saya ceritakan sekarang. Monggo. Oke. Di sana ya. Oke. Kalau soal outline-nya kira-kira beginilah. Jadi Pertama kita bicara programnya, kita bicarakan kok. Saya yakin sekali, seperti yang kata Pak Flor dan Bu Benji tadi, climate change masalahnya bukan hanya soal membuat hujan buatan, bukan soal menanam, bukan soal buang sampah pada tempatnya, tapi persoalannya adalah pada banyak perilaku. Dan karena itu berkaitan dengan perilaku, it means connect with communication. Saya yakin betul itu. Saya sebagai katakan bahwa masalah climate change adalah masalah komunikasi. Sehingga ketika masalah itu ada, orang komunikasi harus tampil untuk menyelesaikannya. Tanpa kehadiran orang komunikasi, saya yakin bahwa masalah climate change akan semakin buruk. Mari kita lihat sekarang. Indonesia bikin ambisi yang sangat besar untuk climate change. Ini di agreement. Paris Agreement mengatakan bahwa Indonesia ingin reducing emisi 40% pada tahun 2035. Dan saya nggak tahu itu bisa atau enggak. Dan apa yang dilakukan? Reforestasi, penghijauan. Business tracing, banyak program-program kita untuk pendidikan penyadaran. Tapi nanti kita lihat apa itu banyak berhasil atau tidak. Dan ini yang paling banyak sekarang. Saya pikir di Lampung juga ada itu. Mulai sekarang waspadakan pencegahan kebakaran hutan. Jagonya itu kan Sumatera kan. Kalau sampai Singapura juga agak gugup dengan ekspor kita yang paling besar itu. Ekspor asap. Baik. Apa yang terjadi? Bu Benji tadi mempertanyakan, apakah generasi Y, generasi Z seperti Anda, sudah aware enggak dengan climate change itu? Apakah itu kita bersama? Kenyataannya enggak. Kenyataannya tidak. Nanti saya tunjukkan beberapa penelitian dari lapangan. Yang kami lakukan 15 tahun berturut-turut tentang persepsi masyarakat tentang climate change. Yang kedua, many programs end with only ceremony. Saya pikir nggak tahu ya, Pak Jokowi itu rajin kali ke Sumatera Utara. Dan setiap dia ke Sumatera Utara pasti ada kegiatan tanam pohon. Saya pergi ke tempat yang ditanamnya itu, tak satu pun tumbuh. Saya harus katakan, tak satu pun tumbuh. Presiden yang tanam. Kalau ini bukan fitnah. Kalau nggak percaya, mari kita ke sana. Apa artinya? Bahwa banyak sekali program-program kita untuk climate change, itu hanya program-program karena tidak disertai dengan perubahan perilakunya. Dan itu persoalan komunikasi kalau menurut saya. Sehingga efektivitas dan sustainability-nya kita pertanyakan. Itu kenyataan, itu fakta. Ketika kita bicara program-program climate change, dan saya pikir Indonesia cukup banyak mengeluarkan dana untuk climate change program, triliunan. Kalau Anda periksa APBN kita itu yang untuk climate change, besar. Tapi soal sustainability-nya nanti dulu. Siapa yang mengikuti program lumbung pangan, disaster. Baik, ini beberapa hasilnya di lapangan. Kita tahu bahwa climate change issues, very complicated issues, tidak mudah dipahami. Ketika kita tanyakan, saya katakan tadi 15 tahun berturut-turut kita meneliti di banyak tempat. Ketika kita tanyakan pada orang tua, tidak climate change. Kan sekarang sudah berubah begini. Itu bukan climate change, itu biasa aja itu. Dulu juga kayak begitu kok. Itu siklus 50 tahunan. Kan sekarang Pak musimnya berubah nih. Dulu juga gitu. sering kok kayak gitu. Dan kalaupun terjadi, itu kan kehendak Tuhan. Mungkin Tuhan mulai bosan melihat tingkah kita sehingga kemarahannya panjang. Itu ucapannya. Jadi there is no common perspective to say that climate change is our crisis. Itu persoalan. Kalau kita mau bicara collective action, ya harus itu yang ada kan. Makanya tadi Bu Benji mengatakan Anda harus bercerita kepada orang tua Anda, kepada teman-teman Anda, kepada semua bahwa climate change itu ada. Selama itu tidak menjadi konsius bagi orang, maka itu kita abaikan begitu saja. Maka itu saya katakan bahwa petani yang kita juga berkata, oke, climate change itu persoalan orang Jakarta lah itu. Mereka nanti yang tenggelam. Mereka nanti yang kena polusi. Padahal berdasarkan teks yang kita baca, yang paling rentan climate change adalah petani. Karena produksi pertanian akan rusak. Kita sudah lihat itu bagaimana karena kekeringan, karena banjir. Petani yang pertama kali korban, bukan orang kota, bukan kita. Orang Jakarta, dia naik ke lantai 2 rumahnya. Petani tenggelam sawahnya mau ngapain dia? Habislah sudah. Jadi kesadaran bahwa climate change itu belum banyak di tingkat petani. Dan persoalan yang kedua adalah bahwa sebenarnya petani kita itu sudah ada juga petani yang bingung, karena melihat bahwa siapa orang Jawa? Orang Jawa pasti tahu namanya Pranoto Mongso. Tapi ini Jawanya Jawa generasi Z sih, pasti nggak tahu. Kalau generasi baby boomer seperti saya tahu yang namanya Pranoto Mongso. Pranoto Mongso itu adalah kalender pertanian yang secara tradisional dipakai oleh orang Jawa. Kalau misalnya di Lombok ya, kalau nyale sudah datang itu artinya minggu depan akan datang hujan. Itu mereka sudah tahu. Hal-hal itu mulai bingung mereka. Jadi sebenarnya ada kesadaran bahwa terjadi perubahan itu tapi nggak ngakui bahwa itu adalah soal campur tangan Tuhan aja itu. Itu persoalan yang kita lihat sekarang. Karena persoalannya kita lihat apa tawaran dari komunikasi, kan begitu. Ini adalah model komunikasi yang kita susun untuk, Oke, ini adalah program komunikasi yang kita susun untuk Badan Restorasi Gambut. Badan Restorasi Gambut adalah salah satu badan yang banyak sekali mempunyai program yang bisa dikaitkan dengan climate change. Kita katakan pada mereka bahwa collective action, aksi bersama adalah satu-satunya jalan untuk mengatasi collective problem. Kita katakan bahwa masalah gambut adalah masalah collective problem, sehingga mengatasinya haruslah collective action. Dan katakan the best way to raise participation is dialogue. Without dialogue, there is no participation. Ini tentu saja berbeda dengan sistem komunikasi satu arah ya. Kita selama ini banyak yang satu arah, membujuk, menyadarkan segala macam ya. Dan itu tidak banyak membangkitkan kesadaran, consciousness. Sehingga yang namanya program-program climate change itu hanya menjadi seremoni saja. Maka itu kita mencoba mengatakan ini, bahwa dialoglah satu untuk collective action, dan collective action itu akan menjadikan individual change dan social change. Tadi sudah disinggung oleh Pak Flor, bahwa perubahan itu harus tidak hanya pada individu, tapi harus terjadi juga pada komunitas. Artinya gimana? Kalau saya saja membuang sampah pada tempatnya, ada gunanya enggak? Sangat sedikit. Kalau saya membuang sampah pada tempatnya, kawan-kawan saya membuang sampah sembarangan, tetap saja jorok kan begitu. Kalau saya tidak membakar lahan, tapi teman saya membakar, ya sama aja, tetap saja terjadi kebakaran hutan. Jadi yang harus terjadi adalah collective action. Dan collective action itu harus datang dari individual change and social change. Itu yang kita tawarkan kepada Badan Restorasi Gambut, BRG. Yang kedua, ini yang kita kepada Departemen Kehutanan ketika mereka sibuk sekali dengan kebakaran hutan. Model ini juga seperti itu, namanya model DNA, Diversity Network for Participatory Environment Communication. Artinya sama seperti tadi, jalan utamanya, langkah utamanya adalah dialog antar berbagai stakeholders yang ada. Ini beberapa hasil penelitian kita yang ini ada beberapa proyek kita lakukan action research yang kita lakukan untuk mengatasi masalah climate change. Yang pertama adalah gerakan Ciliwung bersih. Anda tahu salah satu sungai yang paling bermasalah di Indonesia adalah Sungai Ciliwung. Kita melihat bahwa social cohesion network itu adalah faktor-faktor yang sangat dominan untuk menentukan keberhasilan program. Social cohesion, networking, keuntungan sosial yang akan diterima, dan pimpinan non-formal. Apa yang ingin saya katakan bahwa ternyata kalau Anda perhatikan 5 komponen yang saya katakan itu, ya itu semua persoalan komunikasi. Komunikasilah yang membuat program-program Ciliwung bersih itu berhasil atau tidak. Yuk kita lihat. Ini program kita tentang climate friendly agriculture practice. Ini agak istimewa karena ini adalah action research. So mahasiswanya kebetulan adalah sebuah LSM besar di Bogor. Jadi dia melakukan aksi dan kemudian dia menelitinya sendiri. Ini yang dilihatnya. Dan dicoba dia membandingkan satu program yang participatory communication, satu lagi yang one way, yang linear. Ternyata ini hasilnya. Yang program-program atau proyek-proyek yang basisnya adalah participatory communication, hasilnya itu lebih meningkatkan kesadaran. Yang tadi mengatakan bahwa ini bukan masalah, ternyata setelah participatory communication, mereka jadi semakin mengerti apa itu climate change. Dan itu juga meningkatkan self-efficacy. Apa itu self-efficacy itu? Kepuasan si petani. Dia merasa kan kalau umpamanya jangan bakar sampahmu katanya. Daripada yuk kita gak bakar sampah yuk. Jadi self-efficacy itu berbeda sama sekali. Dan yang istimewanya yang tentu saja ini kita inginkan itu meningkatkan skill and practice of climate friendly agriculture. Itu nyata. Kalau itu perubahan di tingkat individu, bagaimana perubahan di tingkat komunitas? Di tingkat komunitas, ini istimewa kalau menurut saya dan kawan-kawan yang wanita perlu menaruh perhatian besar terhadap hal ini karena komunikasi partisipatif memberikan akses informasi yang lebih besar terhadap petani wanita. Selama ini petani wanita itu banyak yang nggak diikutkan. Tapi lewat participatory communication, wanita lebih terlibat. Kemudian tentu saja kohesi menjadi lebih baik. Mereka lebih kompak karena mereka berdialog sehingga mereka lebih kompak. Kemudian kesempatan perempuan untuk pengambilan keputusan itu juga semakin tinggi. Kemudian makin banyak collective action yang dilakukan. Kemudian ini juga yang sangat penting, meningkatkan kepemimpinan lokal. Dan yang terakhir adalah, kalau tadi self-efficacy, ini adalah collective efficiency. Jadi bangga menjadi petani yang menerapkan pertanian akrab lingkungan itu. 3 kasus ini buat saya menunjukkan bahwa kita, bukan kita lah, Anda sebagai seorang komunikator sangat penting untuk menggalakkan dialog-dialog tadi itu. Tadi Bu Benji mengatakan gosip yang climate change, obrolan yang climate change, bagi informasi yang tentang climate change. Ketika itu dibuat, pasti ada gunanya untuk meningkatkan kesadaran orang tentang climate change itu. Makasih.
Mantap sekali. Jadi dari ketiga presentasi tadi, saya harap bisa mematik keinginan kita untuk berdialog kalau kata Pak Djuara tadi ya. Jadi diharapkan Anda sebagai mahasiswa ilmu komunikasi, seperti kata Ibu Benji tadi, mau memulai untuk bergosip mengenai lingkungan. Baiklah, saya akan buka sesi diskusi. Silakan jika ingin ada yang bertanya dari mahasiswa. Silakan angkat tangannya. Nggak apa-apa, dalam bahasa Indonesia saja, nanti saya translate. Ada? Ayo, siapa yang percaya diri saja, tidak apa-apa. Ya, silakan di belakang satu. Tidak, ini bukan tema, semua akan tertawa begitu Anda bertanya, enggak ada yang akan tertawa di sini. Jadi Anda tidak dihukum secara sosial. Silakan Anda punya keberanian, silakan bertanya. Ya, 2, tadi ya 1, 2, lalu Pak Anma, 3. Kita 3, 4, oke. Berarti kita mulai dari sebelah kiri dulu ya. Yang di belakang dulu Mas ya. Belakangnya untuk mic. Sebutkan nama ya. Anda kan ada jurusan komunikasi, jadi sebutkan saja namanya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ketika Lea Pertiwi dari jurusan ilmu komunikasi, saya ingin bertanya, is there any program or activities done by Philippines to solve the climate problems? Is there any program or activities done by Philippines to solve the climate problem? Terima kasih.
Problem. Mbak siapa tadi? Namanya Mbak siapa? Dengan Mbak siapa tadi?
Namanya Atika Lia Pertiwi.
Rika ya, Mbak Rika ya. Silakan Masnya yang di depan.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Niksuma dari jurusan Ilmu Komunikasi. Jadi pertanyaan saya, semuanya kan bisa diubah dengan berdialog dan berkomunikasi. Tapi hal tersebut tidak semudah kita berkomunikasi dengan orang yang lebih tua. Jadi semuanya kan bisa diubah dengan berdialog dan berkomunikasi. Tapi hal tersebut tidak semudah kita berkomunikasi dengan orang yang lebih tua. Jadi pertanyaannya, bagaimana cara kita bisa mengubah pola pikir orang dan informasi yang kita berikan?
Oke, yang dari tengah ada? Yang tadi ada? Tidak ada? Oke, yang dari sebelah kanan, belakang tadi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, perkenalkan nama saya Salha Atira Lubis dari jurusan Ilmu Komunikasi. Pertanyaannya, what research can be do by the communication student in climate issue? What kind of research can be do by the communication students in climate issue?
What's that?
Kind of research can be do.
What kind of research?
Thank you.
Fourth one, silakan Pak Ahmad. Di depan, mic-nya. Mic-nya, sorry. Depan. Ini jelaskan dari jurusan mana, Pak?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ahmad from Marine Science in UNILA. In Prof. Flor, for attention, Indonesia make a commitment in global to reduce climate action in NDC, National Determined Contribution. So Indonesia make a policy about what we call it a National Action Plan, Adaptation and Mitigation. What we call it in bahasa Rencana Aksi Nasional Adaptasi dan Perubahan, Mitigasi dan Perubahan Iklim. But different in field, many forests in coastal, for example, mangrove forest, corporate about CPO and aquaculture. What do you solution from perspective communication science in different sisi? We need protein to food security, and different in others. We need decrease reduction. One more again, boleh? One question ya. So I will ask a question in Prof. Benjamina. To reduce carbon, what enough only collect, for example, collective marine, collective debris, but in government local, for example, DLA, in bahasa Dinas Lingkungan Hidup Provinsi or Kabupaten, to grab debris mixing in truck. So not we, for example, collective debris and campaign to collective debris. What do you perspektif? Kemudian yang pertanyaan ketiga dari untuk Pak Lubis. Mau nanya boleh Pak? Tadi dikatakan bahwa program-program pemerintah wah tapi tidak terselesaikan. Jadi memang Pak, kalau kita di kementerian misalnya bikin Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup atau Badan Restorasi Gambut tadi di eselon satunya, mereka harus buat program yang visioner tapi tidak terlaksana di lapangan gitu. Nah, apakah kalau misalnya kayak di Badan Gambut, saya ngambil contoh ya, dan Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup itu wetland, lahat basah, apakah kita hanya cukup menanam pohon saja atau mangrove saja gitu ya, dan tidak boleh diganggu gugat, tidak diambil untuk bisa mereduksi karbon gitu kan, dengan target ambisius tadi, contohnya di Paris Agreement, kemudian IPCC, UNFCCC, COP gitu kan, protokol Kyoto gitu. Dan saya mau nanya bagaimana sih peran perempuan atau ibu-ibu ya, dalam hal ini kesetaraan gender atau pemberdayaan wanita untuk mensukseskan dari mengatasi ini climate change, perubahan iklim ini gitu. Saya masih belum masuk gitu di pemikiran saya. Padahal katanya hasil risetnya tadi aspek dari sumbangsi perempuan itu efektif gitu ya. Terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih Pak Anma. So we have 6 questions. And it's divided equally, I think. The first question is from Ms. Riza. Is there any program in Philippines that specifically to solve climate program? Okay. The second one, Mr. Kusuma, as it's about dialect, but how we attempt to change the elderly thought, especially in the local communities. And from Farah, what kind of research they can do at the moment for communication student, which step they can to follow the path. And then from Mr. Anma or Mr. Flor, Indonesia have a national adaptation plan, but especially about forests in coastal. But in reality, most of the forests have been turned into plantations. What is your perspective about it? And for Dr. Benjamina, the local government also have a specific structure who also govern about environmental issue. That's not functioning right now at Lampung, especially in community level. Do you have any thought about it? And for Mr. Djuara, for the mangrove initiations, just in that step, or we need to take a further steps. I will start with Professor Flor.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. From Farah. Farah, are you there? Farah? Farah? Oh yeah. Bisik-bisik, Farah? Okay. Now, last night, we flew from Manila to Jakarta at 8:30 in the evening. When we took off, we were with our daughter. Our youngest daughter was with us. 5 minutes after taking off, it was a very smooth takeoff. 5 minutes later, our plane jumped up and then down like that. Okay. And it gave her the scare of her life. Now, our daughter, she has traveled since she was a baby. No, she's been traveling since she was a baby by air. And last night's experience was traumatic for her, that when we landed in Sukarno Hatta, she prayed like this. Oh, thank you. Then made signs of the cross like that. You know, that is yesterday there was a typhoon, a super typhoon that was on the northern part of the Philippines. Okay, it it traveled in a very strange path. You know, typhoons they usually go straight like that, right? Now this particular typhoon, we call it Goring, but I don't know the international name. When it reached the tip of the Philippines, it became a super typhoon, 180 kilometers per hour maximum winds. That's very strong. That's really very strong. And it went down. It went down like this and did a roundabout. And now I think it's going to Taiwan, going straight to Taiwan. So we have this phenomenon every year, something like 20 typhoons hit the Philippines. You know, one of the most destructive typhoon was happened 10 years ago. 2,000 plus of citizens in one city, in Tacloban, died because of a storm surge. Because of a storm surge. Now, that Typhoon Yolanda, and the international name is Typhoon Haiyan, was 500 kilometers center winds. It is very strong. You could really be blown away by this typhoon. The Philippines is one of, I think there was in 2015, it was ranked the second most vulnerable country in the world. Climate disasters. Why? Because we are facing the Pacific Ocean. You know, the Pacific Ocean, when the temperatures are warm, that is when typhoons, you know, hot air mingling with cool air, they create typhoons or cyclones. And then they travel from east. And we are the first line, okay, the first line of not really defense, because sometimes the typhoons, they end in Laos, in Lao PDR, or in China, or yes, in Japan. Now, we have every reason, para, to design programs to address climate change. And yes, like Indonesia, we have carbon emission targets, lowering carbon emission targets. That's climate change mitigation. And we were first countries who looked into climate change adaptation. The book that you saw, which was written by Professor Benji and I, called Innovative Strategies and Frameworks in Climate Change Adaptation Research, was a 4 or 5 year project called Philippine Climate Change Adaptation Project, which was funded by the World Bank. During that project, we tried to we tried models of how we could implement climate change adaptation, mainly by using communication. And you know what? When Djuara Lubis explained to us the experiences of IPB and Bogor, well, all over Indonesia, we now feel that there is more experience in Indonesia, right? Than in the Philippines. Yeah, and the experience led Djuara to theorize, develop explanations on how this is done. So collective problems demand collective action. And then there is a sequence of events that would lead to mobilization. All this is actually theorizing, which leads me to the third question, which if I may address right now. The third question, what kind of research could communication students do? What kind of theses or special problems could you do at your level? you could begin studying these social phenomena and try to explain. You know, you could develop your own theories actually on how communication could address the climate problem, or what is this climate action called climate change communication. You know, we all of us are aware that there are certain groups in society who do not believe in climate. They think that climate change is a hoax, that it is not real, even if the climate it becomes very extreme already, extremely hot, extremely rainy, and that even if as Ibu Benji explained a while back, in certain areas fruits are not produced as much as they get to be produced, because if a certain disruption in the climate cycle is experienced, then fruits will not or trees will not be. In the Philippines, there was last year, 2022, we did not have any rambutan or durian because it was raining all year long. It was raining all year long. If it rains all year long, then that is a symptom of climate change. Now, how do we address those who are deniers, climate change who feel that climate change is a hoax? Well, we could do investigations. You could interrogate what climate change denial is. And actually goes into a sub area for climate change communication research, which is maybe climate change psychology. What makes a person the existence of climate change? There's several. Actually, you could do qualitative research. You could do surveys, quantitative research, which we did when we conducted that project, and eventually contribute to the body of knowledge for climate change research.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Flor. Yeah, I'm that it's really 100% successful in terms of the initiatives that the government of the Philippines is doing. But these initiatives are from the national. So we have a climate change commission. We also have different environmental organizations, non-government organizations. And these orders are cascaded from national to in the Philippines we call it barangay, barangay level. The kampong from national, we have administrative orders, but of course implementation really requires political will. You cannot, like the question of here, you cannot really force everyone to do it without proper training. So we have to conduct training, we have to let them understand, and this is being spearheaded by the Department of Interior and Local Government. And again, that's a research topic, because you cannot simply address a certain problem if we do not research on it. So that itself is a research topic that you could. Why is the Lura in Kampong A is not believing that there is climate change? How come in Kampong B, they believe that climate change is real? What could be the reason? So that is something that could be a research that an undergraduate student can do. You could also look at risk communication. what is risk communication to the people what climate change is? No, is this a risk? What is risk to them? What are the signals? What are the indicators of risk? Well, in one study that our advisee did, this was in about Yolanda, about Typhoon Haiyan, she found that people there were many victims because they thought it wasn't risky. The term tsunami, as reported by our TV personalities, our news anchors, they said that there's a storm surge. No, the term storm surge is not something that is familiar. We know what tsunami is. Had they used the term tsunami, then maybe that would have scared, that would have encouraged our residents from the coastal areas to move, to evacuate from the coast. But they did not. And also they said that because the barangay captain said, we don't have to move yet. So they did not move because nobody told them to move. No? Those who are directly affected. Because if I remember it right, there was news that this is a super typhoon, that there will be storm surge, but we don't know what the term storm surge was. Believe until thousands died. So it's really a matter of trying to find out as communicators what would be the best, what is the acceptable term, what is the term. If there is a translation or a counterpart term in the dialect, then maybe that is the best term to use. Because denials, those in oblivion who do not believe climate change, will have to experience it first, lose lives first, before they will believe that, okay, this is climate change. We have not experienced this before, but we are experiencing it now. So there must be something. Otherwise, they hold on to their properties. They hold on to their refrigerators. They hold on to their television sets, their chickens, their goat, maybe their sheep, because they invested on it, not realizing that life is an investment itself. If you lose your life, you lose everything. So really, that is again something to be researched on. What is the climate change psychology, as Flor is suggesting? This could be a very rich area of research, especially in areas like Indonesia, Pelago, that you may be experiencing different sorts of climate, given that it's so large, how many, 17,000 islands? You even have different time zones in Indonesia. You will have different climate experience. So that itself, of course, you will have to do that with scientists. As a communicator, you cannot maybe limit yourself from using communication as lens. As a pan-discipline, you will have to involve other disciplines that would understand the phenomenon. But as an undergraduate student, you could even come up with a survey among UNILA students. What is the level of climate change awareness in the university? Well, in development communication, we always narrow down the scope. As an undergraduate student, we can the problems of the whole of Indonesia. So you could maybe limit it to one kampung or to one village, something that is manageable, and then draw insights from that study. National agencies can pick it up. Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources can pick it up and upscale, scale up the topic. Then it becomes more valid in terms of what is the condition in every. Because as I've said, climate change is in situ. It's a natural occurrence that may or may not happen in the same area. So again, that is a researchable topic and be seen from a communication perspective. How is risk communicated? How do media practitioners communicate what is climate change? So if we do not communicate it well, then definitely the results will be in denial. Because you have differing information. And that is the reason why you have to make sure that the information that you're going to report on, that you're going to share, scientifically grounded. It has scientific basis.
Thank you. Jelas, Pak Djuara.
Makasih. Pertanyaan mau saya jawab semua, cuman waktunya nggak cukup kan. Satu hal yang membuat komunikasi lingkungan itu susah adalah soal saya peroleh kalau saya lakukan. Kalau saya makan di restoran, habis saya bayar, saya kenyang. Tapi kalau saya nanam satu pohon, apa sih untung saya? Kalau orang Lampung membiarkan gajah menginjak-injak kelapa sawitnya, apa sih untungnya? Perceived benefit menjadi masalah penting dalam kita berkomunikasi. Dan itu paling susah. Pada badan gambut. Ketika mereka punya program rewetting, replanting, revitalization, dan ada lima R-nya itu, lupa saya Pak, 2 lagi. Banyak masyarakat yang enggan melakukannya karena untung gua apa? Apa untung saya kalau saya melakukan itu? Tapi seperti yang saya katakan tadi, di Sungai Ciliwung banyak orang yang mau membersihkan Ciliwung karena kemudian dia menyewakan perahu, anak-anak berperahu-perahu di Ciliwung. Ada untungnya sedikit di situ. Ada kemudian yang melakukan mengawasi Ciliwung dengan baik karena masuk koran. Self-efficacy tadi itu. Self-efficacy menjadi penting. Apa yang keuntungan yang segera dapat diterima. Sehingga seperti tadi, siapapun kita, mau perempuan, mau laki-laki, pasti yang kita cari untuk collective action itu, mau kita terlibat dalam collective action adalah karena kita mendapat keuntungan. Walaupun keuntungan itu persif. Lagi-lagi, maka keuntungan itu keuntungan di otak, bukan keuntungan ekonomi. Tidak semata keuntungan ekonomi. Dan karena itu stakeholders involvement menjadi penting juga. Nggak boleh, jadi banyak sekali program-program dalam pengamatan kita Pak ya, belum mendalam ini. Program-program BRG misalnya tidak begitu berhasil karena keuntungan kepada petani tidak dihitung. Petani tidak mendapat keuntungan menurut mereka dari program-program itu. Saya pikir kalau dikaitkan dengan riset ini menjadi penting, kan gitu ya. Bagaimana sih meyakinkan orang Aceh bahwa harimau yang sudah membunuh anak mereka itu ada gunanya? Kan gitu, sering sekali kan gitu, jangan bunuh harimau katanya. Padahal harimau sudah membunuh anaknya, membunuh sapinya gitu. Itu nggak mudah, terus terang itu tidak mudah. Hal-hal itulah saya pikir studi persepsi menjadi penting. Kalau tadi ditanya, itu saya karena baru Lubis saya dengar tadi ya. Jadi itu menjadi penting dalam riset komunikasi. Bagaimana persepsi orang, bagaimana penelitian lagi, bagaimana pers memframe berita-berita soal climate change. Itu kalau kalian bikin penelitian seperti itu nggak cukup itu 100 skripsi untuk itu. Framing tentang climate change. Framingnya di koran maupun framingnya di WA group, di Instagram, di segala macam. Ada penelitian mahasiswa saya yang melihat framing orang tentang COVID. Menarik sekali. Bahannya adalah dari Instagram. Jadi nggak usah ke lapangan, cukup cukup data mining, kita bisa melakukan dengan sangat baik. Saya pikir banyak sekali lah untuk penelitian yang bisa kita lakukan. Makasih Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Djuara. Untuk para partisipan yang ada di kelas Zoom, apakah ada yang ingin bertanya? Ada? Ada lagi tanya? Oh, yeah, it's the one from Mr. Ahmad about forest in coastal that turned into plantation. What's your perspective?
But your question is about deforestation and that the national government has a program which addresses carbon emissions, right, and so on, and or reduce carbon emissions 40%. Yet there are large tracts of land that are being converted into plantation crops. Okay, yeah. Now, sustainability is supposed to be regions of 3 areas. Okay, the environment, one, and then economics. Yeah, economic values, environment, and then social values. The interface of that is sustainability. Okay. Now, I cannot pass judgment on the government programs of Indonesia because, of course, I'm not in a position to do so. But if ever there is a contradiction between the plan and the execution, I believe that it is because the economic value is dominant. Okay, meaning in a particular situation, it appears that the income may offset the environmental issues that would result, but the income itself may also be used for mitigation among communities in that area. If you're familiar with the environmental impact, what I described earlier, even if a project has a very high environmental cost, at times it's still approved as long as there is a set of mitigating measures, addressing the concerns of the community and addressing the environmental impact. I know for a fact that some firms are being required to plant trees, so many number of trees within a certain amount of time in order to mitigate the impact of transforming to plantation crops. Yes. But I guess that's all that I can say. I'm not an expert in Indonesian governance. Maybe Palu.
Oke, dengan berakhirnya tadi tanya jawab, saya kira bisa kita akhiri ya. Jadi sebelum kita akhiri, mari kita berikan applause yang meriah untuk para pembicara kita pada hari ini. Thank you, Profesor Flor, Profesor Benjamina, Pak Djuara, yang telah datang ke FISIP UNILA. Kalau bisa saya simpulkan sedikit bahwa perubahan lingkungan memerlukan dialog. Dan sebagai mahasiswa ilmu komunikasi, kita bisa mengawalinya dari diri kita sendiri dan saat ini. Semoga diskusi kita pada hari ini menginspirasi teman-teman selanjutnya ke depannya, dan semoga kita bisa membawa diri kita dan lingkungan kita ke arah yang lebih baik. Terima kasih, saya selaku moderator ucapkan bila ada terdapat kesalahan, baik perkataan atau perbuatan, saya minta maaf kepada Allah, saya mohon ampun, saya kembalikan ke pembawa acara. Terima kasih.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all of the distinguished guests, as we navigate through this symposium, let us recognize that the power of media is to shape narratives and inspire action is unparalleled. And encourage each one of you to participate actively, share your thoughts, and contribute to the dialogue that will undoubtedly pave the way for a more sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, all distinguished guests, now we are in the last session, which is closing sessions. So let's close this event by saying Hamdallah. Thank you for being part of this significant event. Let's embark on this journey of discovery and collaboration. Hashika Nabila as the master of ceremony for today's agenda, and I apologize if there is any spelling or grammar mistakes I made while being the MC of this event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.